What is up, YouTube? Third Impact here for yet another JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders review. This week's episode is episode 12, titled The Empress. And after that really intense and climactic two-parter, we're treated to a bit of a sillier episode featuring Joseph Joestar, who sort of reaffirms himself as the master tactician we know him as, because he's been kind of shafted this season so far. He's kind of like the bumbling, hot-headed grandpa that sometimes has some insight and spirit photos, but this episode really reaffirms him as that warrior that we know him as from Battle Tendency. But before we get into all the Joseph Joestar stuff, of course, I can't ignore that opening scene with the old crazy hag, Enyaba, and boy is she crazy. Apparently she can feel some sort of connection with her son, and feels the pain of Polnareff killing her son. And going through this, we see Enyaba go through some sorrow and pain, but most prominently hysteria, as she's just screaming and making all sorts of weird, crazy laughter, saying how she's going to get her revenge. And, I mean, we already know she's crazy, but, I mean, one of the things that stands out most is when she says, "How could Polnareff kill you? Oh, with you is such a pure soul." It's like, I've heard of motherly love before, but your child is a psychopathic rapist murderer. He's not pure of heart. I'm pretty sure you're not pure of heart either. As she hysterically runs at and cracks a cat on the head with her staff. Just more animal cruelty, just pumping up these villains that's just being pure evil. But, I mean, I thought that scene was crazy. And her cackling and laughing with the door slamming before it just goes to silence, and then the opening, just when you're left with that silence after all her crazy screaming and carrying on, just like you're just left like, wow, she is some real next level crazy. But I think one of the most interesting and funny things about this episode are Joseph Joestar's stand abilities. And it's like, did Araki write in Joseph Joestar's abilities ahead of time, or did he just really make this up as he went along? Because I could totally see Joseph Joestar being the tactician that he is, and always having a plan up his sleeve, to just have all of these abilities with his stand, and just reveal them over time when he needs to. But he really seemed to emphasize how all he could do was spirit photos, and how he needed a camera every time he wanted to do it. This is first proven wrong when he's like, actually I don't need a camera, I can just use a TV. That's a weird one, because what benefit was there to breaking a camera every time? That's one of the most obvious, like, okay, you're just writing this in here now. But it's funny, because JoJo's bizarre, and crazy stuff like that happens all the time, and it's funny that he's just bringing this up now. But in this episode, it's like, not only does he also make a spirit photo map of the city in ashes that he spilt to find the coal tar that he uses to defeat the stand, but on top of that, he also at one point is just like, oh yeah, I can also use my stand like this. And he can use the purple vines from his stand to ensnare his enemies. And in the case of this stand, once hardened, even, like, tear it to shreds. So this stand has offensive capabilities and is far more useful than he seems to make out at the beginning. So it's like, were these just written in, or is Joseph Joestar just keeping these up his sleeve? Like, I wouldn't be surprised, but it's not like Joseph is like, ha ha ha, I always have a plan. Like, you'd think that would be something he would say if he was actually keeping these abilities from people. But it is what it is. Most importantly, Joseph Joestar takes care of this stand user all on his own, and in a pretty awesome fashion. He even gets his, I know what you're going to say next line in there. And really just, after kind of being put in the, like, old man, wise old man position, but also kind of useless and can't do a lot of fighting, he really proves himself in this episode. And that makes me happy, because from what I've read and know of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure so far, Joseph is my favorite JoJo. And, I mean, you know, Jotaro, you can't mess with Jotaro. Jotaro is a boss, he is powerful, but, you know, he doesn't really have a lot of personality. He's just a badass. Joseph Joestar, on the other hand, he's hilarious. He's just an awesome dude all around. He has way more character. He's not an asshole. Well, he is an asshole, but he's not an asshole. And on top of all that, the way I look at it, sure, Jotaro is very powerful. And his stand's ability is enhanced by Jotaro's own physical prowess and ability. But you know, Jotaro is powerful because of Star Platinum. Like, you can't argue with that. And obviously Joseph, did I say Joseph? Jotaro's obviously powerful because of Star Platinum. Joseph Joestar, he's not that strong with Purple Hermit. But if you took Jotaro now, and Joseph Joestar in his prime and battle tendencies, no stands, Joseph Joestar would destroy Jotaro. He defeated Kara's the ultimate life form. And like I'm just saying, it's funny from him being the guy who destroyed or defeated Kara's the ultimate life form to being this kind of useless old grandpa. That in and of itself is funny, but it's also cool to be like, yes, he was the guy who did this crazy shit, and here's proof. He just proved himself. So that's great. And after he defeats this stand user, he's like, oh, okay, so I wonder where the stand user is. And, of course, Polnareff has been attempting to court Nene this entire episode. And right when he's about to, like, make his move, she just pukes. Like, I don't know if it was the energy or something related to what her stand was absorbing, but she just, like, pukes all over the place and then bursts open into this, like, ugly old fat lady that just, like, falls on the ground dead. And just at that exact moment, like, Joseph Joestar comes around the corner and is like, oh, shit. Like, you almost fell for that? Like, damn, like, you got played. And it was just, that was hilarious. And then for the rest of the episode, Polnareff's just in a complete daze. To the point of, they get a car and like, alright, we're going to travel by car now. And Joseph's like, you can drive, Polnareff. And he tosses the key at him, and it just lands in his hair and just sticks there because he can't even acknowledge Joseph after what happened. So that was great. Overall, fantastic episode. I loved the comedy in this episode. I loved the, oh no! All of that was amazing. And I can't wait to get more oh no's and more English from Joseph Joestar in coming episodes. So stay tuned for next week's episode, The Wheel of Fortune, which is going to be another crazy episode. I'm so happy. We also got the announcement this week that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders is going to be airing all year long. So there's going to be a ton of episodes. It will include every stand that was in Stardust Crusaders, so it's not going to be skipping a beat. And there's probably going to be, I'm guessing now, I haven't done the math or really looked into it, but I'm like between 40 and 50 episodes, I'm going to say, which is fantastic. So much JoJo. And on top of that, we got this. Now, this I'm not maybe as happy about. And again, I'm rambling now. That is it for the episode 12 review. Hope you enjoyed. But JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders dub premiere is taking place July 4th, I believe. Which I think is kind of crazy because, again, they're just sort of skipping part 1 and 2. And at this point, I really don't get it. Because, sure, maybe part 3 seemed more popular back in like the 90s when they were bringing stuff over here and all that. But JoJo itself is extremely popular now, and people want to see part 1 and part 2 dubbed as well, so go back and do that later, I guess, but it seems weird for them to be skipping right to part 3. But regardless, it's pretty cool that they're going to be dubbing it and releasing it in some fashion as it's also airing in Japan in Japanese, so that's really cool too. So stay tuned for my next review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, episode 13. Please comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, favorite, and I will see you guys later. Peace.